great honor and privilege to welcome a distinguished guest to our company this morning. I'd like to just share a little bit about Dave Kovar, also known as Hanshi Kovar, because he is an extremely humble gentleman, and he will not share any of this with you unless I do. 6 months after completing high school, Master Kovar started his first martial arts school. That was in 1978, of which I think Dave and I are the only two in this room who were alive in 1978. He is a believer of embracing the student mindset, always learning, always searching for knowledge, always searching for truth. He's earned a black belt, not once, not twice, not three, but 10 different black belts. So I would be very polite with your questions. He has competed in over 200 tournaments, earning first place a stunning 90 times. He considers himself a martial artist first, an instructor second, and a businessman third. He owns 8 schools teaching thousands and thousands and thousands of students. In fact, over their history, he has promoted over 3,000 students to black belt. He shared his knowledge through books, online trainings, various teaching students, business systems, etc., etc. He teaches seminars and workshops worldwide. He also consults with his business, Kovar Systems, with hundreds of different martial arts gyms throughout the world, and runs ProMac, of which we are a proud co-sponsor, where some 400 to 500 martial arts artists from all over, masters from all over the globe, come to Denver, Colorado to sharpen their sword and hone their craft. In 2010, he received the Martial Arts Industry Association Lifetime Achievement Award. And yes, let's hear it. That's amazing.
It all sounds so good when you say it. Now, if I could just hear my wife hear all this, that would be really helpful.
We will send her a copy.
Yeah, okay.
Got a chance to meet Master Kovar. This was a few months at ProMac, and I had the privilege of sitting in on one of his sessions. And he shared his mental mindset mastery techniques, and I was blown away. I also consider myself a lifetime learner. I am constantly reading 4 or 5 books on top of podcasts, on top of this, always trying to find an edge, sharpen my sword, improve myself. And it's not often I can tell you that I sat for an hour and my jaw dropped open and I was like, wow, this is awesome stuff. And so we invited him and said, would you please come share this with our company? And he graciously accepted it. And a matter of fact, as the gentleman he is, sometimes when you go to these things, you ask people if they would do it. They're like, oh, yeah, yeah. And then you kind of never fear. And I didn't want to put him out. He actually contacted me and said, hey, when are we going to do this thing? So he's just as excited to be here as we are to have him. So if you would please give a warm welcome to Hanshi Kovar.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. But no pressure. Okay. So 10 years into her martial arts training, Terry Poxton was one of my senior students, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she continued to train with me for about another decade. And over this time, as her body started to deteriorate, her spirit just became stronger. She was really amazing. I remember one particular morning after a really grueling class about 5 years into her diagnosis, I saw her sitting over in the corner, and she labored breathing, having a hard time moving, body kind of slowly convulsing. And man, I wanted to help. I didn't know what to do. And so I walked up to her. I said, hey, Terry, is there anything you do to make it better? And she said something to me. It was the most profound thing I've ever heard. As a matter of fact, I hear her voice ring in my head almost every day. She said, I know I can make it better because I can make it worse. I know I can make it better because I can make it worse. I want you to think about the honesty and the power of that statement and how you can apply it to virtually any aspect of your life. Think about it, your relationships, your finances, your health, your career. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Is there anything you could do to make your finances worse? What about your health? Relationships? You guys get the idea. Well, you can't just have it one way. If you can make something worse by default, that means you can make it better, okay? And so that's kind of what the mastery mindsets are about, and that's what I want to share with you today. Before we get started, Ron, I just wanted to thank you personally for inviting me. It's a real honor to be here, and it's been good to get to know you the last couple of months. And to the Zen Planner team, all you guys, on behalf of Kovar Systems and Kovar Satori Academy, my team loves you guys. So just thanks for doing everything you do. And we're real proud to have you guys as a strategic partner and really excited about what the future holds. And what I want to share with you guys today is what, once again, we call the mastery mindsets. And this is something that I've been made a conscious effort to adopt into my lifestyle over the last 25 years. And something that we've really done our best to have really be part of the fabric of the culture of our schools, okay? And see, we all have a series of mindsets or beliefs about how the world works and how we work in it, okay? Unfortunately, most of us don't choose our beliefs choose us by the environment that we are raised in, by the education we receive, and the experiences that we have, okay? Some of our mindsets are powerful and they serve us well, others not so much. Let's imagine you're in third grade. Amy, this is for you, okay, all right? Amy's good friends with one of my senior students, Chad Shepard, and she was just talking about a foot race in first grade that you said, I'm gonna ask Chad, you said that you won, he says he won. Okay, all right, you definitely won. All right, so anyway, let's imagine you're in second grade and you get paired off to run with a race with two other kids in second grade. And unbeknownst to you, these two kids are the fastest two kids in second grade, and you come in a distant third place. Your perception of how fast you are as a runner would have been completely different if you were paired off with the two slowest kids in the class and you came in first easy, right? And so the challenge is, this doesn't always, reality, these are the kind of things that really shape the trajectory of our life, and they're not always based in fact. For example, my 92-year-old mother, when she was in first grade, was told to stand in the back of the choir and don't sing too loud because your voice isn't very good. So what happened, her whole life never sang. I really never remember hearing her sing as a kid. As a matter of fact, I don't remember her singing at all until a couple years ago when her dementia took away a lot of her memory and all of her inhibitions. Now she'll sing all the time. But here's what's interesting. She actually has a pretty good voice. My dad sung in a barbershop quartet, and he's always the guy that would sing. My mom would just quietly listen. And now she sings with him when he's over. That's what he likes to do. And she missed out on over 85 years of singing because of a mindset she had based on something someone told her when she was 6 years old. And once again, a lot of our mindsets that we currently have are powerful and serve us well, others not so much. So I'm going to share with you what we call the 14 mastery mindsets, also sometimes known as black belt leadership mindsets. If people want the martial arts term in there, I'll use that title as well. And the first 9 of these are personal. It's how we view the world. Okay, and the last 5 are how we interact with others. The first 9, by the way, are based in martial arts tradition, and the last 5 are they're the basis of our instructors training program that a lot of schools use in the country. Okay, so the very first mindset is I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. Wrong direction. There we go. I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. So from a martial arts standpoint, you guys are all familiar with the samurai. And what you may or may not know, a samurai, would work for a shogun. You guys have heard the phrase a ronin? A ronin was a masterless samurai, right? But if you were a samurai, that means you basically were property of a shogun, and it was your responsibility to always be at your best so you could represent and defend them at any time's need, right? So it was considered disrespectful to not take good care of your body. But think about this. I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. If that were really true, what would you guys do differently? Okay? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, I'm a better boss, I'm a better training partner when I'm feeling good about myself, right? There's an old Indian proverb that goes like this. A healthy person has 1,000 goals, a sick person has but one. Okay, and you think about it, anytime that if you want to conquer the world and you're not really at your best, it's hard to do, right? So the word Satori is the name of our schools, Kovar Satori Academy. Satori, roughly translated, the Japanese term is a moment of enlightenment or a moment of deep understanding. It's like when you wake up in the morning, boom, and you've got the solution to a problem that you have, right? For us, we modified the term a little bit. For us, Satori means in the moment, at your best. And it refers to that present state of consciousness when you have mental clarity, physical energy, and emotional calm. Think of it like in flow state. They talk about flow state or being in the zone, right? So imagine what could you do, how much more successful you could be if you spent the majority of your day in that zone, right? So I'm amazed by the disconnect really smart people have with the way they treat their body and their level of success. Okay, so the first one, once again, is that what little tweaks can you do to take a little better care of yourself, because you're going to be better for everyone in your community, okay? And by the way, once we go through all these, I've actually got a card that have them all, and I'm going to have a little exercise. So we're going to just kind of get through the all 14 real fast. The next one, I can always do more than I think I can. I can always do more than I think I can. How many guys, there's something that you overcame that you didn't think you're going to be able to? Every one of us has had that happen at one time or another, right? So for martial arts, it's us if early on, and we know as instructors that we need to set a goal for our students, a long-term goal. We're going to, as soon as we can, we're going to get our students to really focus on the goal of becoming a black belt, because we know there's going to be doubt that's kicking in, right? And the clearer we can have them create that vision and visit it, it will get them through those low spots, okay? And so super important on this, and it's the same thing, that's why it's so important that so many of you guys might have a challenge. You're working on a personal best in fitness of some kind, or you're gonna climb a mountain or run a marathon, something like that, because anytime we challenge ourselves, what that does is that raises our bar a little bit, and it helps us, that converts perfectly over to other areas, right? Next one, I know this challenge will make me stronger. So y'all know that if you want to get in shape for any type of physical event, what's got to happen is you know that hard training is going to prepare you for that. Is that fair to say? All right, but not just in that area, but also think about this. How many guys have ever given this advice to a friend when they're going through a hard time? You've told them, you know what, you're going to get through this and you're going to be better off for it. You guys ever told somebody that in some way, shape, or form? But it's different when it's us. We don't necessarily like to hear it when it's us, right? But this challenge will make me stronger is the reality that chances are there's been things that have happened in your life that you didn't like, okay, that were hard to get through, but because of them, you're stronger. Is that fair to say? I can think of a bunch of circumstances where, man, I didn't like it, but man, I learned so much from that experience, whether it be business or relationship or whatnot. So here's the question. Currently, we all have challenges. It's called life. The challenges you get over now, you're going to have other ones that take their place, right? But any current challenge that you're facing, if you can just get in your head, you know what, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to be better off for it. What this allows you to do, it sounds simple, but what it does, it allows you to objectify the situation and kind of take the emotion out of it, okay? And kind of look at it from a distance. So here's the thing. Challenge will either build you or break you. It's kind of your choice, okay? So once again, when training, man, being able to really push yourself will make you stronger, right? The next one, I remain calm even in challenging situations. So Muyomaru Musashi, who is probably the most famous samurai ever, said one time, if you lose control of your emotions in a fight, your opponent has an ally. And you all know this, guys. Anybody that follows the fight game, you know that it does not serve somebody well to become real emotional, right? If they go and step into the ring and they're enraged, they might get lucky, but more often than not, against a seasoned opponent, they're gonna that emotion's gonna work against them, right? So our ability to be calm under pressure. Now, here's the deal. How do you learn that? You start with everyday adversity, little things that aren't that big of a deal. Because if you can't be calm under little things, then how could you possibly expect to be calm under big things? For example, if you guys have ever been late to an engagement, you're stuck at a red light, and you're like, antsy? Has that ever happened to anybody? That's when you work on being calm. Because if you can't do it then, you can't expect to do it other times, okay? And I try to use, I travel a lot, okay? And anybody that travels a lot deals with airplane stuff and all the stuff that goes along with it. And I try to use those as learning experiences, okay? The true story, 3 weeks ago, I'm flying back from New Jersey. I was gone for 7 days. I did 6 seminars in 5 different cities, okay? Hotels, sleeping, all that stuff, right? And I'm eager to get home. I'm that guy that arrives to the airport like way early. Like I lie to my host about what time my plane leaves. I did it this morning. I asked my brother-in-law told me, what time's your plane leave? And I told him an hour earlier because I want to be that guy that's on the other side of security, right? So I'm there like 3 hours early. And it's a direct flight. I live in Sacramento, and there's no direct flights to Sacramento. Actually, Denver, but that's about it, right? So I got this direct flight from Newark, and I'm super excited, right? And so I'm there. The flight's gonna go off on time. We get on the plane at 7 o'clock, like we're supposed to, and. By the way, just a little backstory, I forgot my iPad, so I'd been working the whole week on my phone, right? I left my charger in our hotel room, my hotel room that morning. I've got about half my battery because it didn't work, I didn't plug it in right. So I had no candy for the plane. You guys know what I'm saying? No mental candy, I didn't have a book in me. So I'm thinking, okay, and I'm thinking I'll just get on there, they're gonna have a screen, no screen. So you guys get it, right? Not the end of the world by any stretch, right? And so I get on there thinking, all right, it's no problem. I don't even have that's in my bag up above, my notepad. And so, okay, no problem, I'm gonna do this. Well, I get on the plane, we're on the tarmac for 3 hours before we take off, okay? Nothing unusual, you've had this happen to you before. But here's the deal, the guy next to me hadn't taken a shower in probably a week and a half. there's three, not one, not two, but three babies on the plane that are crying because of the getting on a plane is rough, right? And I'm not making this up. This really happened. About three chairs up from us, two ladies almost getting a fist fight over something. That they had to literally break it up. And this is all before the plane even took off. And so there's this negative ooze, this gray ooze of negativity that's like flowing through the plane. And I start to buy into it. I start to be part of that, right? And guess what pops into my head? I remain calm even in challenging situations. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, this is my opportunity, right? To be in control of the situation. And it's not that I went from being upset to happy overnight, but instantly, but that mindset allowed me to kind of remember to breathe. You guys, it totally changed my focus. It totally changed the flight. And so this is if we can't do it in little things, if we can't mindfully take a second when stuff like that's going on and say, all right, man, I'm just going to objectify this. It's like you don't want the situation to make you lose your joy. Does that make sense? Right? It's like you're going to decide ahead of time that you're going to be in control. Let me rephrase that. You can't always control the environment that you're in, but you can always control how you respond to that environment if you make a conscious effort. And most people don't bother to do that. Just like most people, really smart people, I'm amazed by the disconnect smart people have with the way they treat their body and their level of health, right? So this is the next one. The next one, I deflect negative energy. Gabe, can I borrow you for a minute? All right, we didn't plan this. So so like traditionally, like a fighting stance, like throw like a right hook at me, not too fast. Yeah, right. This is not deflecting. This is blocking. You guys with me on that? And there's a time for that, right? And so we can take negative energy and we can block it head on, or deflect would be something like this. Well, I'd redirect it. Okay, I enjoyed that. Thanks. You can. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that energy and having it work against me, right? So it's not just in the martial arts, it's in general. Deflecting negative energy is about, now, hey, buddy, how are you? This is honestly the first time I've ever had a dog approach me when I'm having a talk. And so where the heck were we? Thanks, buddy. All right, yeah. So with deflect negative energy, if you are in a situation to where, let's say, for example, I cut you off in traffic, or you cut me off in traffic. Let's do it that way, okay? And I respond in some way. Would I respond differently? Let's say you cut me off in traffic and my dog died, okay? My car, I'm bringing it into the shop right now because the repair is gonna wipe out my savings accounts and I lost my job. And I'm having a really bad day and you cut me off in traffic. Am I gonna respond to you differently than if I just won the $10 million lottery? Is it fair to say one day I'm gonna wave at you? Hey, the other way I might give you another interesting hand gesture of some kind? You don't know the difference. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? All right, so when people spew negativity your way, it's really not about you. Now, if that means like in the service business, if you're dealing with a client and you messed up, you make it right. You guys know what I'm saying? You do what you can, but you do your best not to own their negativity, okay? Because it's really them, okay? I try to look at this, and I'm not, this is something we teach what you know need to hear, and once again, this is what I'm working on, is I try to think, wow, they're having a bad day, and just not accept it. Do you remember when we were kids, the quotes, maybe it was our generation, I'm actually, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. You guys remember that? It's actually pretty good advice, right? So deflecting negative energy, it's about, man, if you spend 3 or 4 hours a day, listening to like the local news or, that's, as Tony Robbins said, stand guard at the door of your mind, right? So be careful what you let in because that's really going to affect everything. Okay, the next one is the reverse of that, is I accept positive energy. And we like to be around people that are, I know in our martial arts schools and what we talk about when we do seminars is the importance of having a vibe in your business to where people want to be around that, right? You think about who do you want to spend time with? Who are the people that you want to spend time with? It's people that are excited, enthusiastic. And we can make that switch. Sometimes it might be harder, but we all have a threshold, which some people are born. There was a study done, it was called, I think, the happiness quotient, where they kind of came into this thing that people come into the world on with a level of happiness from 1 to 10, right? But what was interesting is, like, I see it in my son's 24. He's a good kid. He's a happy kid, but he's a little bit more like guarded than my daughter, who was born in a perpetual state of bliss. She's just been happy her whole life, right? She came in really high. But here's wherever your happiness quotient might be, our environment and our education, our experience and our mindset can move it up or down 2 or 3 notches. Does that make sense? That's something that we have in our control. Okay, so In martial arts, the same thing. Accept positive energy is the ability to like take someone's strike and actually, I do another demo on Gabe, but we'll pass on it for now, okay? All right, so I accept positive energy. Next one, my word is law. My word is law. What the heck does that mean? What that means, this is about having a high level of self-discipline. It doesn't mean I'm the boss and you guys do what I say. It's that I'm the boss and I'm the boss of me. How can we possibly, if you ever wanted to be if you want to be a leader, and so many of you guys are, we all are in some capacity, how can you expect to lead others when you can't lead yourself, right? And George Washington said, discipline is the soul of an army. Okay, and there's a great book. Anybody heard of the book called Peak by a guy named K. Anders Ericsson? It's kind of a dry read, okay? But in the book, he talks about the two kind of main things that he saw qualities of successful people, whether it be in science, in business, and athletics. And it wasn't high IQ, and it wasn't natural athleticism. It had two words. Number one was introspection, and that's the ability to kind of analyze, how am I doing? How can I get better? Kind of what we're doing right now, right? And the other was self-discipline, the ability to get up and do what you're supposed to do. My dad, I'm in 5th grade. I get a chore, it's mowing the lawn, okay? I don't know how many guys have mowed the lawn, of course, right? You guys remember the first time you mowed the lawn? It was really fun. I don't know about you. Like, I had a great time. This is cool, man. I got allowance and everything. Second time, it wasn't quite as much fun. By the 4th or 5th time, I didn't want to mow the lawn anymore. And I went up to my dad and I go, Dad, I don't want to mow the lawn anymore. He goes, son, you don't have to want to mow the lawn. You just have to mow it. That's what self-discipline is. Here's the deal, okay? You're not a runner, but you want to run a 10K. So you get a buddy and you're going to get together and you guys are going to do some training, okay? And you hate running and you hate getting up early in the morning, but you agree to meet him at the park at 6 a.m., okay? And you show up, you have your coffee, you get out, you stretch a little bit, and you look down at your phone, and there's a text saying, I can't make it today. Do you do the run anyway or not? That's the kind of thing we're talking about. The ability to be self-motivated, okay? That's the concept of my word is law, and that's how, if you want to get a higher level of self-discipline, here's where most people go wrong. In theory, everybody understands this. This is common sense, right? But the reality is it's hard to change your routines. Is that fair to say? And what most guys do, I'll see this at the gym I work out in the morning. I'm an early morning, first thing in the morning gym guy. And I remember it's first of the year, it's like January 3rd on a Monday, whatever the day is, and I walk in and I'm there like at 5 a.m. and man, the place is just packed. And I'm wondering, do I have the wrong time? What's going on here? It's like Twilight Zone, I haven't fully woken up yet. And I go, New Year's resolutions. And by the way, by the 10th, it was as empty as ever, right? What happened is people set unrealistic goals for themselves, right? And so let's say, for example, I want to get in better shape and I haven't exercised in years. To say I'm going to get up every morning at 5 a.m., I'm going to be at the gym and I'm going to work out for an hour. Guess what? No, you're not. Your willpower will get you 2 or 3 days, right? If you want to change your habit, what do? You make a commitment you can keep. I'm going to get up 10 minutes early and I'm going to walk around the block once and I'm going to do 5 push-ups and I'm going to commit to doing that for a week. A week goes by, that's something you want to get a lot of checks on the victory box. Everybody got that? And then slowly, over time, what happens is, all of a sudden you're accomplishing a lot more, and pretty soon, a year from now, you're doing crazy stuff, okay? So my word is law is a concept that also like junk day. How many guys, I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing this is not the normal group that you might go to as far as the level of fitness in the room. It's a lot higher than most places. So I know we've got a very health conscious group here, okay? How many guys use kind of a cheat day concept, right? How many guys can use that concept to a fault? Like, good, it's my cheat day. I can have not just 1 bag of Cheetos, but 6, right? Anybody have that? Well, all right, so I use this concept even like whatever it might be, man. On Sunday and I'm having, I will say something along the lines, and literally out loud, I'll take my last chip, my word is law. I'll even say it into the mirror. My kids just go, oh, here he goes again, right? But that kind of gets me over the edge, okay? And the other thing about this is that has to do, and I want to digress a little bit to a concept called, mindfulness is very much a very in term right now, right? But mindful eating has to do with really appreciating what it is you eat. And there's a samurai maxim that goes, hare hachibu. Hare hachibu, roughly translated, means 80% full. And what that meant is a samurai, I'm sure it's kind of like samurai looked upon kind of like Knights of the Round Table. There's a certain, way we look at them. And I'm sure not all the Knights of the Round Table were good guys. I'm sure there are plenty of not good guys samurai. But in general, hare hachibu, it means I would never go away from the table full Instead of eating till I'm full, I'm going to eat till I'm not hungry. Why? A couple reasons. I don't want to be gluttonous, number one. Number two is I want to be ready for battle at any time. And so the key to this is mindful eating is like also when it comes to dessert, if you like dessert, man, have chocolate cake. Just don't have it as much, as often, or as much, okay? Back to my word is law on a junk day. My daughter makes the best chocolate chip cookies on the planet or close to it, right? And I'm off to teach a class on a Saturday afternoon and she's making cookies. And this is 5 or 6 years ago. Both kids are still living at home. And I'm thinking, oh man, they're not quite done. Oh, when I get home, I'm gonna devour them. I'm so ready, right? So I go about my business, I come back, and what do you know? My son ate every friggin' cookie except one. And after I got over the initial, what'd I do? I took that one cookie, I didn't devour it. What'd I do? I smelled it for a minute. I kind of, you all know what I'm talking about. I just ate it slow, and I probably enjoyed that one cookie more than I would have if I would have slammed down 6. That's mindful eating. That's part of the process. So that's a way you put my word is law. I'm not going to eat so much, right? I'm going to have a smaller dessert. That's one way to do it. Is simply to eat slower and try to appreciate each bite. So this is a hard concept to go with, man. But I'll tell you what, it's massive. I'm running my own race. What the heck does that mean? We do our best not to compare ourselves with other people, right? It's easy to do. Me saying it's not going to stop you. You're still going to compare yourself, but hopefully you'll catch yourself. Because they say if you ever found yourself in somebody else's shoes, you'd quickly want your own shoes back, okay? In other words, how many times have we seen from a distance like, oh, that guy looks like their life is just, everything's great with that person, only to find out it's really not that way, right? So running your own race is really comparing yourself with your own potential, not with other people. Okay, in martial arts, I competed for years and years, and I can tell you that anytime I would check out the opponent, maybe I knew who the person was, maybe I've never met him before, it was always, you never overestimate or underestimate anybody, okay? Because you think, oh, this guy's gonna be easy. I remember more than one time thinking through, I look at the division, there's 16 guys in my bracket, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna beat him, and then these two, that he's gonna win, and I'm already worried about this guy over here, only to lose to this person because I underestimated them, okay? And the flip side, seeing people, and any martial artists in the room, or any fitness experts or advocates, you guys all know the appearance isn't always the same. There's guys that don't look very strong that are friggin' really strong, and vice versa, right? So you run your own race, you do your own thing, okay? So comparing yourself with your own potential, what the heck does that mean and how do you do it, okay? There's a great quote that goes like this: never make an important decision when you're angry or upset. It's like letting a coward lead your army, okay? And the concept with this is when you're not at your best, would you agree that, we don't always make the best decisions, right? So let's say, for example, martial arts terms, I just got the tar kicked out of me in training today. I pulled a muscle. I'm feeling, my wind doesn't feel right. Man, I'm just not feeling good about stuff. I'm driving home. Is that a good time to set a long-term martial arts goal? No, man, right? But I just had a great day. My body's functioning well. I had a good class. That's when I can get a sense of where I'm going. Does that make sense? So any important decisions you have, the time to make them, okay, is when you're kind of really at your best, because that way you can get a taste of your potential, so to speak, okay? And so once again, easy to say, hard to do, but worthy of the challenge. Don't compare yourself to other people. Run your own race. I have so much to be thankful for. This is very cliche, right? We hear about it all the time, but my experience is anytime you hear somebody talk about cliche, something's cliche, it usually means it's timeless, right? There's something to it. Chances are 97% of your life is going great, but we tend to focus on the 3% that isn't often, okay? So many examples I can give you on this. I remember a few years ago I was talking with a gal, her name is Nancy Walzug, and I help her run some schools in the New Jersey area, and it was right after Hurricane Sandy. Actually, it was right during Hurricane Sandy. And I'd called her one time, she's on the phone, her 2-story house, she's in Red Bank, New Jersey, right, hit the hardest part of the storm. They didn't get out in time, okay? So now there was electrical stuff so they were stuck in their house, right? And I was talking to her as the water was going into the lower story of her house. Well, she ended up, of course, they got through that, and they ended up moving here and there, and ended up losing their house. Of course, it was gutted, and they had to remodel completely. But in the process, it took them about 3 weeks where they settled into a rental that they could find. And she goes, I forgot how cool it is to open up the refrigerator door and have food there, right? And have hot water when I turn on the shower and flip the light switch. That's the kind of stuff that we take for granted. Do you guys know what I'm saying? So hopefully if you don't, have some point, I would strongly encourage you sometime a day when you have kind of like a little time where you take a moment and just kind of think about things you're grateful for. I do it twice a day. I do it in the morning, first thing when I get up. I have kind of a routine that I do, a ritual I do. And then at the end of the day, I ask myself 2 questions, actually 3 questions. How did I learn? And what did I learn? How did I contribute? And what am I grateful for that happened today? And what it does, it helps. Any of you guys ever go to sleep with stuff on your mind that you can't get rid of? Right? Well, my experience is if I have a notepad by my bed and any issues I have about work or relationship or something like that, I just write them down. And what it does, it gets it out of my head and allows me to sleep sounder. But also what happens is that it allows you, how many guys have learned a lesson more than one time? You guys know, oh man, I knew I shouldn't put my hand on the hot stove. Why did I do that again, right? Well, because a lot of times what happens is we don't go back and we're not introspective about the day, right? And it's a discipline, it takes some time. You probably, most of you guys, maybe some of you guys already do this, but if you were to establish that, man, it's just really powerful, okay? Just to kind of take a moment to appreciate what we have. More on that in a minute. So those 9 mastery mindsets have to do with personal. Now the next 5 are interpersonal. They're how we relate to other people. The first one is I make other people feel important. I make others feel important when I'm in their presence. Think about, the people you like to hang out with. Chances are one of the number 1 qualities that we want as humans is we want to be respected and appreciated and acknowledged, right? And I'll give you a couple stories. Does anybody know who Ricardo Laborio is? If you follow jiu-jitsu, Ricardo Laborio is a very famous jiu-jitsu practitioner, a really super good guy. And I've been following him for years. And one time I was at the Super Show in Las Vegas about 6 or 7 years ago. And we're at the speakers, we're sitting down with all the speakers and they're giving us a lecture about, what to cover and what not to. And I see Ricardo Laborio on the other side of the room and I'd never met him. And I go, man, I kind of got up my courage. I'm going to go introduce myself to Laborio. And I walk up and he walks up and he meets me in the middle and goes, Dave Kovar, you're my hero. And I'm going, boy, he goes, everything I learned to teach, I learned off watching your videos, man. It's been so helpful. I'm thinking, I like this guy. Why did I like him? He liked me. You guys with me on that? It's like, another story. I've had the distinct honor to hang out with Chuck Norris about a half dozen times. And one time, in the early 90s, some of you guys might remember his movie Sidekicks. Anybody remember the movie Sidekicks? Some of you guys were just kids. He was like 6 years old when you watched that, right? So in Sidekicks, he was actually, my understanding is he actually funded a big chunk of the movie. So he wanted to be successful. So he did a whirlwind tour. And he went to 21 cities in 22 days to promote this movie. And the last day, day 22, he comes to Sacramento, and myself and a bunch of my black belts, we get to play security, do security for Chuck Norris. How cool is that, right? And so we go to 3 different theaters, but before we go to the 3 theaters, I get him to come to my school to shake hands with my students. Not even time to sign autographs. There's literally, this is when Chuck Norris was at the height of his fame, okay? And now you guys just know him for jokes, but he's actually a legitimate martial artist too. He's responsible. He's one of the guys responsible for bringing jiu-jitsu in America. If it wasn't for Chuck Norris, there probably wouldn't be any UFC or anything like that. Because he brought the Gracies over because he had met them through a guy named Richard Norris, who's a guy from Australia in like the mid 80s that kind of got the thing going. So where the heck I was I? Oh yeah, so anyway, Chuck Norris is in town and literally there's a line out the school and around the corner. There must have been 400 or 500 people to meet Chuck Norris. My wife is person number 232, right? Or something like that. She's going through the line and she says, hi, my name is Angelina. I'm Dave's wife, okay? So needless to say, we get him through. I get to ride in the limo with Chuck Norris and we have a chase car with 4 black belts. We're gonna be doing security. And I slip in the limo and I'm thinking, man, this is so cool. I get to ride around in the limo with Chuck Norris for the next 6 hours. And he goes to me, he goes, so Dave, can your wife, Angelina, join us? He remembered her name. It was like mind-boggling. And I watched him throughout that whole evening. Every person that he shook hands with, he made a meaningful connection with. And the kicker was at the end of the night, this is after, I don't know how many autographs you can sign in 6 hours at 3 different theaters, but it was like mayhem, right? And so I would say 1,000 or more, right? And so he hops in the limo, he says goodbye to me, I'm at the window, and they start to take off, and the limo stops. And I see the reverse lights go on, and he passes right by me, and he goes over to where my 4 guys are. My 4 guys are kind of cleaning up, helping the movie theater put away chairs and whatever they're doing. And he rolls down the window, and he says, by name, another guy named Dave, hey Dave, hey Mark, hey Ken, hey Bob, thanks man, I appreciate the help, it was fun, see you later. This was after 22 days on the road. You guys get the idea? Those guys would die for him to this day because of that interaction, right? I make other people feel important when I'm in their presence. It's really not that difficult. It's really just giving someone your presence in a positive way, okay? I notice the good work of others. How many guys are parents? So as parents, what we tend to do oftentimes is we tend to nitpick our kids a lot, right? And we forget to kind of notice when they're doing things correctly. And of course, as co-workers, the notice the good works of others is the ability to kind of train your eye. One of the first things that we teach when we do instructors training, we've been doing instructor colleges for years and years. And when I used to teach instructors, I would say, all right, guys, I'm going to show you how to correct. You three, let's say, are my new assistants, okay? And you're just learning how to teach. I'd say, all right, thanks for helping out today. If you see anybody that's knees aren't met, let me know, okay? If you see anybody that's guard isn't up, tell them to get their guard up, okay? If their spirit isn't there, remind them to get their spirit present. That sounds like pretty good advice. Here's the challenge. Someone new, what am I training their eye to do right now? Look for things they're doing wrong. Guess what? The guy in the stands that doesn't know martial arts, they can tell when a technique is sloppy. You guys that are not martial arts, you can tell, that's not a good kick. You didn't need it. You know what I'm saying? Well, it was a pretty good kick. So what we do is all right, guys, I'll be taking care of all the corrections. Your job is to wander around and find people with their guard up and comment. Notice that their guard is up. If their knees are bent, go up and comment. Then notice their knees are bent. All right? You guys understand the difference? It's very subtle, but what we do is we train our instructor's eye to detect things that are good, and then pretty soon it becomes unconscious. And the thing about noticing good work of others, it's got to be, when you give a compliment, is what there's another way of saying, it's got to be sincere and the more specific possible. The worst thing you can do is give someone this blanket compliment that doesn't have any validity to it, especially as parents of kids, that we know that's counterintuitive, right? So that's the idea with that. If you go out of your way to notice the good work of others. Anybody's familiar with Stephen Covey? He wrote a great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you haven't read it, it's like, that's just how many guys have read Stephen? Okay. So habit number 5 is seek first to understand and then to be understood. I think it's probably the most important statement for personal interaction. And I want to give you 3 reasons why this is so important. First off, if you were, anybody do mock trial or debate in school? Okay. Is it help to know the opponent's viewpoint on things? No doubt about it, right? Going into a business deal, it's important to know where the other person is coming from. If you're going to step into a ring or a cage or a mat, knowing your opponent's strategy, or onto a field, knowing your opponent is going to benefit you. Is that fair to say? No doubt about it, okay? All right, so that's one reason, okay? But the next reason is when you seek first to understand and then to be understood, what happens is that by default, when you are really trying to listen to somebody else's viewpoint and it's not the same as yours, and they really get the fact that you're trying to listen to their viewpoint, guess what happens? Their guard drops. Okay, so my oldest brother, his name is Tim, and he was my business partner. Some of you guys may have met Mr. Chamberlain. He was our current CEO of Kovar. I think this was before him. And my brother, in our relationship back when it was just the 2 of us in one location, I was doing all the teaching and he was doing all the enrollments and business, I always got to be the good cop and he got to be the bad cop. Okay, I liked that arrangement, by the way. And so let's say, I remember one time this irate person comes in. It was a parent of one of our junior students, and apparently we double billed them. I don't even remember what the issue was, right? But it caused some other checks that they were just livid. And this guy came in just ready to go, man. And so Tim goes, we took him in the other room. And about 15 minutes later, they came out laughing and joking and, shaking hands. And all right, Bobby will be back tomorrow for class. And I go, hey, bro, what'd you do? And he goes, I just listened to him. I try to understand where he's coming from. And so often that's what we not do. When we have a discussion we have a different viewpoint, oftentimes what we do instead of listening is we just wait for our turn to speak. Well, when you're done, I got something to tell you, right? And what happens is it just escalates, okay? So that's the second reason. And the third reason is when you really try to understand someone else's viewpoint, you go, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. Good points. Okay, so it's such an important thing that to apply anytime you step into a situation where someone else might have a different viewpoint. You're across the table, so to speak. This is dramatically helpful in really any type of negotiation. I choose my battles wisely. Pope John Paul II had a great quote. It goes like this: see everything, overlook a lot, correct a little. Okay, and that's a concept we kind of utilize on the classroom when we're teaching. I'm trying to be aware. We call it mat vision. So if I'm training, I want to know what's going on. I'm going to position myself to I see, especially if there's any type of live sparring or grappling. As an instructor, you got to be able to see everything. right? And then you're just going to monitor, any red flags you're going to deal with, all right? But you're only going to make a few corrections here and there. And it's also a really good viewpoint when it comes to working with your coworkers or subordinates or whatever it might be. And I'll tell you why. Do you have anybody have a friend that always has to be right, that has to win every argument, right? I have, my wife has 8 siblings, okay? And she has 5 sisters, and I love them all, right? They're cool, and there's a guaranteed, almost all of them live local. I love my brother-in-laws. It's real easy to have a party in our family, right? I've got one sister-in-law that's always got to be right, okay? And to the point where she'll walk up and she will just pretty soon you'll notice the crowd just dissipates and she's by herself again. You guys know what I'm saying? And she, by the way, she's often is correct. She's the one that'll say, oh, remember back in 92 when we went on a vacation to Hawaii? It was 93. Okay, it was 93. And anyway, I remember we stayed at that gorgeous hotel that was on the beach. It was actually a block away from the beach. You guys, it was that person, right? So what happens, you end up being around someone like that, your guard goes up, like emotionally, maybe not physically, right? And pretty soon, you don't tolerate anything they say. However, I choose my battles wisely has to do with just not always having to have it your way. You guys know what I'm saying? Unless it's like a moral issue, or for us on the mat, if it's a safety issue, then I'm going to do it and say something. But otherwise, man, you just kind of roll with it. And then when something's important to you, you step into it, then people listen. So I've been teaching since 1978. I've had a school since 1978, so almost 41 years now. And I've been doing this. This is still, martial arts is still my hobby, right? It's still what I like to do on my time off. And but the challenge is doing this a long time, I will have this thing pop into my head to where you don't know what you're talking about. We'll have a brainstorming session with my guys, and they'll be throwing out all these ideas. And the first thing I want to say is, I tried that back in 92, it didn't work, right? If I have to you know what I'm saying? Just shut up and listen and be open-minded and receptive. And then when something's really important to me, I'm going to go, hey, wait a second, guys. And guess what? People are receptive to my input because I'm not always on them, giving them my viewpoint. Does that make sense? And so it's a real important, once we understand the power of choosing your battles, man, and by the way, this works great with kids, your family too as well. Last one, I bring value to all my relationships. I bring value to all my relationships. So about 2 years ago, and I'm going to I bring value to all my relationships. I want to tie it in with, I have so much to be grateful for, kind of the two together. Just got back. I was supposed to get back on a Sunday, and I was eager to get back because I was leaving for Australia on Thursday because I had a week of seminars in Australia. And my plane got delayed, and I didn't get up until Monday afternoon, so I lost a day. And then it's Monday night, and so I got so much to do before I leave. And I actually looked at my ticket again, fortunately, and when you go to Australia, you lose a day. I wasn't leaving Thursday, I was leaving Wednesday, okay? So I literally had 24 hours to get a week's worth of work done. I had all these meetings and stuff I had to prepare, my PowerPoints I hadn't done. You guys get the idea. And I was kind of grumpy and irritable, and I snapped at my wife, and someone called me from work about something, and I was more curt than I could have been, and I hung up the phone as I'm driving. You can tell that I'm dating myself because my phone, hanging up the phone, was this. I just thought of that. You guys are going, what's that motion? That's called a landline, where okay. And anyway, and so I'm driving on my way, and I live literally 2 miles from our headquarters school, and I'm driving past a local grade school, and I see these 2 kids. They're probably about 9 years old, this boy and this girl. And they're just being goofy. And the boy waves at me and goes like this to honk the horn, and the girl's just, smiling. You could tell she's thinking, oh, Bobby, you're so funny. They were having this really just amazing little interaction, right? Here's what I didn't tell you. The girl was a quadriplegic. She was sitting in a chair, her head supported, and she had little things here, right? And I don't know if this is even politically correct to say, but I'm thinking, what right do I have to be grumpy because you guys know what I'm talking about? Because my schedule is tight, by way of being able to do some cool stuff, right? And when here's this girl that has deals every day with this whole host of challenges that I can never imagine, and it's got a life filled with challenges I can never imagine. And here she is in a complete state of bliss at that moment. The other thing was, here's this kid who could have been doing a lot of other things, this boy, but what's he doing? Man, he's making this person's day. He's bringing value. I had 2 things. I got so much to be grateful for, and I want to be like that kid. You know what I'm saying? What can I do to bring value to all my relationships? So what does that mean exactly? It's you all know the ripple effect and pay it forward. We're all familiar with that concept. True story. I'm going into San Francisco. Anybody driven across the Bay Bridge into San Francisco before? Okay, there's like 18 lanes when sometimes you can be stuck in traffic for 45 hours just to get through the booth, right? And I'm not even exaggerating. I don't have so we have so few tolls in California. You don't have the express. Nobody has that, right? So you're paying your money, and so I'm in line, and it's this. By the way, it's this really nice Saturday, and I finally get up there, and I'm not irritable. It's good. I've been in line for 10 or 15 minutes, and I pull up to give the money to the gal, and I have this meaningful 2.5-second interaction with this gal. She's got music going. She goes, "Oh, hey, it's a beautiful day. Have a great time in the city. Yeah, oh man, isn't it lovely?" That's about how long it was. But here's the deal. It was completely sincere. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, she wasn't getting tipped by that. That was just her mindset, right? And I remember driving away thinking, wow, that was cool. It was a little tweak that made a complete difference on my day, right? On the way back, I'm going over a bridge. It's called the Crockett Bridge. It's between San Francisco and Sacramento on the way back. And I see there's another toll. It's a smaller toll. I pull up. And now I'm mindfully aware of the person that just kind of remember my experience that morning, and this gal hardly looks up. She takes my money and she kind of grunts something, goes about her business. I can almost read her mind thinking my sister's an attorney and here I am collecting toll booths. What a waste. You almost read her mind thinking that. Whereas the first person, there's a samurai maxim that goes like this: bloom where planted. Bloom where planted, okay? And the samurai term is to be like a weed. What does that mean, to be like a weed? Not be like weed, okay? But be like a weed. And that is that wherever you're planted, boom, wherever you grow. If someone steps on you, what do? You straighten that back out and you go again, right? So that first gal had done that. She was going out of her way to bring value to all of her relationships. Okay, so here's our assignment now. I've got this handy dandy. Can I have a couple of people help me pass these out? This is your card with all of our, if you guys would just start in different places in the room, that would be great so we can get these done. This is your cheat sheet of the 14 mastery mindsets. Raise your hand if you don't have one, so there we go. Oh, you guys in the front row. You guys missed these guys in the front row, man. I'll take care of them. Okay, so what I want to do, if you don't mind, thank you, sir. Yeah, make sure we get one for yourself. If you don't mind, just play along with me, just loud and proud. We're going to go through these for a second. You guys got that? All right, mastery mindsets. Number one is, you don't have to adopt any of these. You can do nothing with this, right? But what I want you to do is two things. Number one is, if any of these that you're really, I do that, just kind of, make a kind of mentally pat yourself on the back and think, I got to keep doing that. Does that make sense? And then some that are going to be neutral, like they don't speak to you, and that you don't have to listen to them. But there's going to be others when you read through these, you're going to, that would be a valuable mindset to have. What can I do to do a better job? And that's the one I kind of want to kind of focus your attention on. So the next one is, the next one is, I know this challenge will make me stronger. Next one is, I remain calm even in challenging situations. Next one is, I deflect negative energy. Next one is, I accept positive energy. Next one is, my word is law. Okay. Turn the page over. Next one is, I'm running my own race. Next one, I have so much to be thankful for. Next one, I make others feel important when I'm in their presence. Next one, I notice a good word for those around me. Next one, I seek first to understand and then to understand. Two more. Next one, I choose my battles wisely. And last one, I bring value to all my relationships. All right, so here's your assignment. We're going to do a little workshop here for a few minutes. And I'm just going to ask that you play full out. And my experience is it's better to do this with someone you don't know as well. Because you do this with your best bud, you tend to get sidetracked and talk about what you're going to lunch and that kind of thing. So preferably someone you don't interact with as much would be my preference. And what you're going to do, what is your name, sir?
Sandesh.
Okay, sir. Your first one, I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. What kind of a score would you give yourself on that? You pretty good at that?
Not great.
Okay, what could you do to be better?
Eat healthier.
Okay, give me an example.
On my drive back to my apartment, there's like 20 fast food restaurants, and sometimes it's tempting to stop.
All right. Thanks for your honesty. All right, so you're the only one that's going to say eat better. Just kidding. We all do that. So here's what I did is I kind of asked him. I'm not telling him. I'm asking what he thinks. You guys got the idea? And then you're going to do the same thing to me. You're going to take a minute with each one, thereabouts, something like that. Then you're going to go to the next one. And what I want you to do is just interact personally about how you are with these, okay? And we're going to meet back in about, we may not get through them all. We're going to meet back in about 10 minutes, okay? So if you all would find somebody that you don't normally work with, that would be great. Pull your chair around and give it a go, all right? Give it a try, guys. All right, guys, I'm going to have you wrap it up. Chances are you didn't get through it all. So thanks for playing full out. Most people, anybody ever go back and meet with some high school friends that haven't matured one bit since they graduated? So we all have. You know, most people don't make a conscious effort of like improving, right? Maybe it happens by default, and a lot of people do. But in general, I talked earlier about the book Peak and Introspection. This is what we're talking about. What can you do better? So what I did is I passed out a handout. Anybody not get one? I've got a handout here, and what I'd like you guys to do, and I would say, take a second right now, and what I have is I have a blank for 5 mindsets, and what I would want you to do is the ones that speak to you the most that you feel like you could improve upon, we're going to do this in real time right now, is I want you to jot down, okay, for example, you know, I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. And then write a few things that you can put daily, okay? I'm a fan of the concept of take care of the days and years take care of themselves. It's great to have long-term goals, cool. But what do you really got to do? Today, friggin' do as best you can to eat right, exercise right, treat people well, you know, work hard. You guys know what I'm saying? And then just do the same thing tomorrow. And then what do you know? A week goes by and you've had a good week. A year goes by. You guys get the idea. So what little things could you do? It might be pack a lunch for the way home, or you know what I'm saying? You know, when it comes to it might be water instead of Diet Pepsi. You guys know what I'm saying? It could be something like that. It could be eat an apple instead of a Snickers bar. Right? Something on if that was one of your ones. Okay. I notice the good work of others. I'm going to go out of my way every day to consciously, until this becomes a habit, find 3 or 4 coworkers that are doing a good job and walk up and let them know what they're doing well. That's going to be what I'm going to write. You guys have the idea? So by the way, you could do none of these. Right? Or you can do, you know, hopefully you fill it out. But the best way to do nothing is to try to do everything, which means if you add too much to the list, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay? So I'd like you to take a few minutes and just focus on which one spoke to you and write that out on the sheet, and then what little action item could you do? And then I want you to go back to that card and I want you to circle those particular ones that speak to you. All right, guys, so I need someone to take out their phone and time me. Who got it? You ready to go? All right. I'm going to read through these. Tell me when to go. Yep. I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. I can always do more than I think I can. I know this challenge will make me stronger. I remain calm even in challenging situations. I deflect negative energy. I accept positive energy. My word is law. I'm running my own race. I have so much to be thankful for. I make others feel important when I'm in their presence. I notice the good work of those around me. I seek first to understand and then to be understood. I choose my battles wisely. I bring value to all my relationships. How long did it take?
33.5 seconds.
Okay, so here's my challenge to you guys, okay? And I went faster than I needed to, okay? I challenge you that 3 times a day, take a minute and read through this, and kind of with a little spirit, you know what I'm saying? Like really think through it. And really watch the little things that happen. I'm not going to go, I take great care of myself because the world needs me at my best. Oh, M&Ms. I'm going to grab the apple by default. You guys with me on that? Is there subtle things that are going to do to switch your consciousness? You're going to get up after you read this and you're going to go out of your way, and there's going to be these little habits that at first, and a lot of these you already have, right? This is a lot of these stuff you already do, right? But there's a few that aren't. If you make a conscious effort to it, and pretty soon you'll find yourself just little shifts that make an incredibly big difference. So that would be my challenge to you guys. 3 minutes a day is what we're talking about. The other thing you can do is, if there's one in particular that really speaks to you, read through the whole list, but really focus on one. You guys all know who Benjamin Franklin was. Anybody familiar with his spiral theory of learning? He had 13 virtues. Anybody ever? Okay, it's really fascinating. But Ben Franklin had 13 virtues that if he felt like if he could live with these 13 virtues, he would live the perfect life. And they were like reverence, thrift, silence. Some of them, maybe they're words that we don't hear as often anymore, but you get the idea. What he would do is for 1 month, he would focus on one. That would be his focus. And then at the 1 month is over, he'd take on another one. And he would try to live with the first one as well. And what he found was when he got to like his 3rd or 4th one, the first one would have to drop off because he couldn't focus on all of them at the same time. And 13 times 4 weeks, actually, for 4 weeks, that's a year. And a year he'd start over again. with the same ones. And he felt like every time I'd get there, back to the first one again, I was a little higher level. And that's kind of the concept with this. So you kind of focus on one. My word is law might be it for the next few weeks. You're going to read through all of them, but that's the one you're going to consciously do. And when you feel like you've made a little progress, you shift to another one. Okay? And I promise you, like I said, if you adopt all or some of these, no matter how good your life already is, it's going to get better. And I'm going to see you sometime in the future and you're going to go, wow, and you're going to tell me a story about how it impacted you. I want to leave you guys with 5 questions. And these actually stem, I got the concept from a first century philosopher by the name of Ben Zoma. So they're really old questions. And the first one you can see up here on the wall. And the first one is, who is a wise person? And the answer to who is a wise person is one who learns from everyone. And for me, the application of that is doing my best to stay relevant, right? And there's a proverb that goes like this. Let me see if I get this right. There's a Japanese term called, it's actually used in martial arts, it's called shoshin. Shoshin, roughly translated, means beginner's mind. And it goes, in the mind of a beginner, there's a land of possibilities. In the mind of an expert, there are but few. Meaning, as we age, we tend to be, you know what I'm saying? We take less input from others. We don't stay receptive. I see it in my generation of martial artists that a lot of those guys at their schools are struggling now because they're still doing things the way they did 20, 30 years ago, and they haven't stayed relevant. And that's something that I really consciously have to work on. Like I said, every now and then I've been doing this a long time. That part of me, that voice will pop into my head. I'm not actually, you called me humble at the beginning, Ron. I'm not at all. I just keep my mouth shut instead of, right? Yeah, I think a lot. Anyway, so who is a wise person? That's number one. Who's a brave person? The answer to who is a brave person is one who is smart enough to be afraid but takes action anyway. One is smart enough to be afraid but takes action anyway. What do I mean by that? Let's take, for example, today. Dave and I were talking during the break, and and I'd mentioned that I don't do a lot of events outside the martial arts industry. Most of the time I'm talking to people that run martial arts schools or fitness people, and that's kind of my world. And so this is really, although you guys are doing in the martial arts industry, this is this is not my normal crowd. You guys with me on that? But yeah, it's a little intimidating to be here, to be honest with you, because it's outside of my comfort zone, but I'm going to do it anyway. You with me on that? A worthy challenge, it means you take your job seriously. There's a worthy goal, you take it for real, and you go with it, okay? So who's a brave person? One who is smart enough to be afraid, but takes action anyway. And guys, courage isn't fearlessness, it's overcoming fear. You know what I'm saying? It's action in the face of fear. And so facing things, that's why it's so important that we challenge ourselves on a regular basis. Who is an honored person? Who is an honored person? The answer is one who honors. And what does that mean? In martial arts, begins and ends with respect. There's bow, there's protocol, it's very much, there's instructor-student relationship that is acknowledged, right? But I'll tell you what, if you want people to respect you, what do you have to do first? You have to respect them, and that's really what that's about, is going out of your way to pay respect to the people in your circle. And that's, once again, people we enjoy are people that respect and appreciate us. Who is a mighty person? I love this one. Someone who has control of their emotions and can make friends of their enemies. Someone who has control of their emotions and can make friends of their enemies. And once again, emotional control in battle is super important, right? And how many guys have ever found yourself, found yourself in line at the grocery store and you picked the wrong line and the other line's going really faster and you're slow and you're irritated? But you're not going to switch lines because you spent a lot of time in this line, damn it, you're going to stay there? Am I the only one that's done that? Okay, so here's an example. You find little irritations like that. What can you do to control your emotion? Well, so it's actually a common fact that your physical balance and your emotional upset are like oil and water, they don't mix. When you are emotionally upset, your balance is bad, okay? So next time you find yourself in line at the grocery store and it's long, just do this. Pick your foot up off the ground for a second. No, just a little bit. And what's going to happen? It sounds bizarre. You're going, really? Or you find yourself irritated with your significant other or something. Take a breath and stand on one foot. One of two things is going to happen. One, your balance is going to be bad. Or number two, you're going to kind of focus on your balance. So it goes concentrate on your balance, lose your upset, concentrate on your upset, lose your balance. Okay? So a few months back, I'm at the grocery store and my wife and I are back, we're home, and in California you have to buy your bags now, so you just pack those bags, right? I got about 60 pounds of groceries. I'm standing by the back door, and I'm waiting. My wife's got the key, and I'm waiting. I look around the corner, and she's on the phone in the car still talking to one of her sisters, and I'm going, wait a minute. Now I'm training. You guys know what I'm saying? Now I'm training. That's a moment where I'm doing something productive. So there's always an opportunity to be able to do that kind of stuff, right? So, and make friends of their enemies, you can literally mean make friends of the enemies, right? It's always better to have friends than enemies, but also I interpret that as making the best of a bad situation. It's kind of like, the thing when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. But really, guys, everybody knows that quote, but are you doing it? When something happens that doesn't go your way, are you thinking, okay, how can I make the best of this, right? How can I adjust? And chances are you do, but when you make a conscious effort of it, it gives it more credence, it gives it more power. And the last one, who's a rich person? The answer to who is a rich person is one who appreciates all they have. One who appreciates all they have. So my father's going to be 97 in a couple months, and he has obviously, I have a great deal of respect for him. He was a World War II vet. Actually, I brought a copy of his book to Ron. He wrote a book called A Prisoner of War, How I Survived. You can get on, online. But he's got an amazing story. And some people, they come back. I mean, he did a couple death marches. He survived a near firing squad. He was tortured, the whole deal. And in the process, he came back, and he's just like, really got this great attitude towards life. Some people might come back a little more bitter, and understandably so. For whatever reason, he's not. But since I was a little kid, anytime we'd have a family gathering, he would say, hey, stop everyone, look around. These are the good old days. That's his line. These are the good old days, right? He still says it to this day. And how I equate that to my favorite word in the English language is savor, okay? Because to me, what savor means is present focus with a sense of appreciation. Right? Savor time with friends, savor a good sunset, savor a good meal. You guys have the idea? The more we can spend time in the present with kind of appreciation where we're at, appreciate where we're at, the better stuff will happen. So I know there's going to be a Q&A, but I wanted to wrap up this part of it. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I really appreciate you spending time with me this morning. Hopefully you got something out of it.